G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James, welcome back to my channel, welcome if you're new. Today, my microphone stopped working, so fingers crossed this all sounds great by the time you're hearing it. I'm using the computer microphone. Usually I would do my little picture-in-picture, I'd join you for a little square box of me up in the top left-hand corner, but fun fact, could not be bothered getting dressed today. I mean, I am dressed. I'm just not camera ready. I'm not presentable enough for the film. So I've decided just to go old school and do a voiceover. Nevertheless, we are here to talk about a little art journaling experience I had today. I went a little bit old school. I got out my journal that I got from Australia on that discount ages ago, which I love. It's quote unquote drawing paper, which is just a weird way to say kind of cardstock. I don't really know exactly what this paper is, and the journal, we've talked about it before, INART, the Inner Diario Graphico, no idea. It was from Riot Arts and Crafts, and I got a whole bunch on super sale. I think this journal was literally $2 when I got it, and they're some of my favorite. It's hardcover, beautiful paper. I love to draw on it, so it's, I mean, drawing paper, I guess, is the right word for it. It's just a very smooth cardstock. It does handle watercolor, not a ton, like it will warp just with any kind of amount of water, but I just think they're beautiful journals. So if you ever go past a Riot Arts and Crafts and for whatever reason you see these, I just say pick yourself one up because it's lovely. You do end up cracking the spine. I think anyone who's going to go through most of the book will crack the spine, but they do hold together pretty well. And I've got a couple of other of these journals that I did kind of at the start of my art journaling journey, and they're still holding up, and they're still some of my faves. So love it. Happy to be working in this one today. This is my Gran's fairy colouring book that I brought back from Australia last year when I went home to see my family. I brought this one back and I've been reinterpreting or kind of being inspired by and doing derivatives of or referencing this colouring book to draw fairies. And today I did 5 of them. I had my stamps out because I've been working on something else for Collage Club. And I thought, oh, this is great. Like I've got all these stamps. I'm going to, Frankenstein them, take one body here, take a head here. And I stamped them out and did that technique that I call stamp and illustration, where you use a light colored ink, bonus points if it's water soluble, because then it'll wash away when you do your watercolors. But I use a light colored ink, I stamp it out once or twice on another piece of paper so I can get the ghost stamp. So it's just the most faint impression of the stamp on the page, and then I draw over the top. It essentially becomes a template for me to draw on top of, and then I can just cut out all the fussy work of having to, sketch out bodies and faces. I get to just decorate and characterize and personalize and make them all these beautiful fairies that I wanted to draw today. So I really love it. We've talked about this technique a lot around these parts, but if you haven't seen anything else, I always just say check out, there's a hashtag on Instagram, stamp an illustration, AN, and I'm sure if you type that into YouTube as well, you'll see some other examples come up. We did a couple of workshops as well. The concept stamping workshop, that kind of is similar to what I'm doing on the screen. That's a little bit more focused on, the creative play of it as well. But anyway, just in case you're curious to know what I'm doing and what I was drawing on top of, they are my stamps. My link will be to my shop in the description box below. I don't know which stamps we currently have in stock, but I'm assuming we have it. I know I just did an order, and I think we still have a lot of everything. So if you're curious about any of that, you'll find that in my Etsy. This is, like I said, all of my fairies. I've done them in, what is it called? Mechanical pencil, because I really like that fine line and I can just kind of scribble it all together. And then I went over it again with a Copic multi-liner. I did black because I wanted to essentially make the coloring page and then do the coloring on it. And I did for photocopy, what do I call it? Scan it in different stages so that I could give you the black and white version to color in for Collage Club next month. I was obviously going to give you the colored versions as well of the fairies, but I did scan those, and sometimes with the bold, bright colors, the scan doesn't pick it up so well, so I've done photos as well. I'll tinker with it and see which ones I think look best for Collage Club, but I wanted to give you the black and white ones as well, because I always draw them as the coloring book, because that's the memory for me, like that's the thing that makes me feel nostalgic and sentimental. So I want to make sure that I give them as coloring book fairies, if that makes sense, uncolored. So look out for that if you're one of my Collage Club members. I'll put those in for February as well. I got a lot of good stuff for February. I'm excited to share that with you. It should be coming up soon. The whole effect I wanted to go for was very beautiful. Very beautiful fairies. Love that. I really do love all of them. I think my favorite, though, is that one on page left, on the right-hand side of page left, with that, what looks like a huge eggplant on top of her head. I don't know what that flower is called. The one that I'm painting right now. I love her. She's my favorite. Don't know why. I just love her. Gorgina. So I've gone with a wash of watercolor first. I'm going very mixed media. A wash of watercolor. Once all of the kind of base colors are down, and I'm directly referencing the colors my Gran used. She never did skin tones, so I just go a bit free for all with the skin tones. I tried to keep them pretty varied in this one, so everyone had a bit of a different skin tone. But once I did all of that, I put all the colors on that my Gran did. The wings, I took a bit of artistic liberty with because I just did. But all of the outfits and everything, I kept, pretty faithful to the original color palettes Gran used. So it's very colorful in the end. But once I've done my original wash, I then take a detail brush. Oh, I used a pretty big brush as well. Just to keep yourself really expressive, I always recommend using a brush that's a little too big. So this is the Escoda Versatile Travel Brush, and it's a size 10 in round. So you've got the point. You can make, some detailed marks, but for the most part, it's pretty big and hard to control in those small spaces. So that keeps you really loose. I don't need to stay inside every line. I don't need to make sure that the colors don't bleed into each other. For the most part, I just want to get the colors on there and then come back with a more detailed brush and do some extra accents, punch it out a little bit, make some of the color choices a little bit bolder. Watercolor does tend to dry down a little bit lighter than when you put it on. Some colors dry down a lot lighter, like reds, but it just helps to go back over it again and add some of that vibrancy. Ooh, what's that? The sirens are on outside, but I can't tell what it is. Fire engine? It was stopped too. I hope it's not here. Anyway, so I've gone in with that big brush, and once all that's done, I will be going back in. Oh, is it coming down this road? Sorry. Anyone with dogs is probably going to be mad at me for those sirens going. I think there's literally a siren in every single one of my videos. If you don't know, I live in the downtown area, so there's always noise. It is what it is. It's not my friend with the exhaust, it's a siren. It's one of the two. I can't ever have a silent video. Anyway, I went back in after all of the wash was done. I wouldn't even call it a wash, but the first lay down. And then I went back in with a Treacle Mids Desert Blaze Round number 4. I got that from an Art Snacks box. It's a cute little brush. It's nice and snappy. I went back in and kind of punched out some details and colors. And then once all of that was dry, I went a little mixed media with it. Got some pencils out, gel pens. I think gel pens are one of the most underrated mixed media art supply, if I'm honest. So if you've got a bunch of gel pens, get them out because it's just so... It's nice to do line work with a pen that's not black because black is such a stark, bold choice. So to do some colored line work is really nice, even though all of this is kind of already lined in black for the coloring book purposes. But I do end up doing like little fine details around the eyes, like eyelashes and things like that. You can do those with beautiful colors and it just looks really pretty. I also did some shadows with purple on all the fairies, which turned out really nice. I think I got a brush marker as well and did some purple shadows with that. I like to just go all out with it. Watercolor is a great base medium for mixed media because I think mostly everything works on top of it. You got to be careful if you're using very chalky watercolors though, because the residual dustiness of some of those chalky watercolors will get into the ballpoint of your pens if you're using that, or even the felt tip. It will kind of make dust on the end of it, so you don't want to mix those. But for the most part, light, thin washes of some pretty good watercolor that isn't too chalky will be a great base for a lot of mixed media. And I also like that it's just very loose, so it keeps me loose. Like I'm not going to start being crazy about, making perfect shadows, when I get my pencils out, because I've just got this really mottled, kind of beautiful, intuitive, abstract, no, I don't know, all those kind of beautiful words about the base being just watercolor and crazy. You don't really tend to try and control it. You just let it go and do its thing. But here you can see I'm going back in with the second round. And can you see I'm just adding little blushes of color, a little bit of pink to some of the parts of the body, punching out the reds because they tend to dry down a little too light for my liking. Some purple in the shadows. I like to put a lot of color around the eyes. Browns tend to dry down a lot as well when they dry as well. So if you're using browns, you might want to hit those back up again. And just really getting in there and adding some extra color. I really, really, really had a nice time doing all of these because it just makes me think about Gran. It was always nice to have Gran on my mind. I've always loved the fairies and the mermaids. I've loved coloring them in. And I think sometimes now I just really appreciate that, I can draw the fairies that I would have loved to have colored in as a child. And, you know, I don't have to be a child to enjoy it. Sometimes I do think, like, what would I have done if I saw some of these fairies in a coloring book? I probably would have gone mad. I loved it. Like, I mean, I know it's a bit gauche to say it about your own work, but I really do love, like, some of the things that I draw. I love to color them in because it just, I feel like I'm making the things for myself that I always wanted. And that just came with a lot of time and energy, you know, enjoying the journey. I can't even say like I'd set out to become a better illustrator just so I could do that. I think that was just a byproduct of loving, you know, art and journaling so much. You just end up doing it so much that it's not even practice. It just kind of happens. It's, what is it? A byproduct of the passion that I have is that eventually I just did it so much I got better at it. But there are some things I've had to learn. There are still some things I cheat all the time. Don't ever look at the hands. I'll always try and hide them. But yeah, I'm just really happy that, like, even with some of the, like, the stamp and illustration thing, like, even that took a lot of the pressure off of me as far as illustrating goes. Because even though I feel like I'm a pretty competent illustrator, I don't like having to set up all the proportions every single time. I don't like having to draw the base of a face and a body every single time. Sometimes I just like to skip all that bit, and having those as tools also, you know, once I initially got over the thought of like, am I cheating? Am I like stamping it out every time? Once I got over that and was like, well, who cares? I'm doing it irrespective, so we're gonna have to deal with it. You know, that just freed me up to enjoy that process even more as well. And I really think that's what it's about. I feel like, you know, it's nice to have goals and everything, but I really do just think that a passion will take you so far, and that usually your curiosity is what sets you up to learn the things that you end up learning. You know, I don't believe that there's a whole set of things you must know to be able to do great work or do work that you enjoy doing. You know, if it's all motivated from a place of, you know, enjoyment and curiosity, I think you end up falling where you need to fall. So I just felt like that's something I wanted to share with you today. I did go and do a whole bunch of journaling on this page because I had some foolings, so I decided to get them out. I went to an audition the other day. I got a call back for an audition that I, in hindsight, probably didn't need to go to because I'm already quite busy this year anyway. But I wanted to go. I just love putting myself out there and going to these auditions. If anything, they're a free dance class at the end of the day. But I did go. I had a great time. I made it all the way to the end. And so I felt very successful about that. But I had a whole bunch of feelings about it too. And chief among them was, you know, I had like this very overwhelming sense of like relief, and maybe I can call it that. If you've known my story from around here for, you know, a while, I got into a car accident that stopped my dance career for a while, but then it took a really long time for me to get back to it because it just, opportunities never worked out, and that was about 7 years. But I went back to dancing in 2022, and then 2023 I spent, you know, I spent a lot of time off as well. Again, not really by choice, but it just happened that way. And so I was just really kind of struggling with my expectations about where I would be when I went back to dancing after all those years. And I was so impatient about it the whole time. If you've watched any of my videos, you know. But anyway, so it was really nice to get back there. But I really feel like right now I have met the expectation that I had when I stopped, and when I wanted to go back, and what I thought I would do when I got back. I feel like I'm there now. And at the audition, you know, it's just interesting because I'd heard this song before, but I never really thought whatever. We danced to a song by Pink, and the song is "I'm Never Gonna Not Dance Again," which, you know, factually, I guess is, you know, not true. I'm sure there's one day where I won't be able to, but I mean, maybe not. Maybe I'll be dancing right up until the grave. But we did our audition dance to that song, and it was very technical. It was actually quite challenging, but they really wanted to see you kind of tell that story. And I just thought, like, what are the chances that I get into this audition and it's difficult so that I'm challenged, but ultimately, like, I have an opportunity here to show these people, like, this is exactly what my story was. Like, I spent so long thinking, like, I'm never not going to dance again. Like, I wanted this more than anything. I'm literally at an audition with an opportunity to show that. And it just felt very, I don't know, it just felt like this huge relief to do that. And I felt like Gran was there too, so it all felt good. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again soon. Bye.